Hello everyone, am I audible to all? Oh. Hey Jivita, hey Likpriya, am I audible to all? Hello everyone, am I audible to all? Okay. So shall we start today's class? So Jivita, Likpriya, shall we start today's class? Yes, I am waiting for your answer. So guys, should we start now? Am I audible to all clearly? Please anyone give a reply and I shall start. Okay then, I shall be beginning then. Alright. So in this module, we are going to cover excretory products and their elimination. We are going to cover excretory products and their elimination. So starting with question number 1. Just a minute. लाइव हूँ बाद में आना। 2 घंटे बाद 2 घंटे बाद sorry. So let us start. Select the option which shows correct matching of animal with the excretory organ and the excretory product. So option A, housefly, excretory organ, renal tubules and excretory product is uric acid. Option B, labio or rohu. Here the excretory organ is the nephridial tubes and the excretory product is ammonia. Option C, salamander. Here the excretory organ, kidney and the excretory product is the urea. And option D, peacock, where the excretory organ is kidney or the excretory product is the urea. So tell me which among them is the correct answer. So for this, I shall give you a hint, and that is mainly the bony fishes, the aquatic amphibians, and the aquatic insect. These are mostly the ammonotelic organism. Ammonotelic means that these organisms they secrete ammonia as their chief excretory nitrogenous waste. And the other organism like the mammals, like we are the mammals, then the terrestrial amphibian and the marine fishes, likely like the hilsa and sardine, they mainly excrete the urea as the chief nitrogenous waste, and that is why they are known as the ureotelic organisms. And finally, the organism like the reptiles and the birds, okay, and the insects and the land insect, they excrete uric acid as their chief metabolic waste, nitrogenous waste, and that is why they are known as uricotelic animals. And hence, tell me which one will be the correct answer. C. The correct answer here would be option C. Why? Because A is the housefly, and in the housefly, the excretory organ it is the Malpighian tubule. Excretory organ is the Malpighian tubule. Then lobue it is a fish. and in it the excretory organ will be ammonia. Yes, that's absolutely correct, but the organ here should be gills. Now coming to option D, peacock, it's a bird, and that is why the product should be uric acid and not urea, and hence the correct answer is option C. Now coming to question number 2. Earthworms are they option A, uricotelic when plenty of water is available, uricotelic under conditions of water scarcity, monotelic when plenty of water is available, and option D, ureotelic when plenty of water is available. To answer this, I need to tell you that ammonia, of all the nitrogenous waste, ammonia is the most toxic form. Ammonia is the most toxic form, and that is why the organism need plenty of water for the excretion. And the uric acid, it is the least toxic form, and that is why the minimum amount of water is required. And hence, when some organisms can excrete both. Okay, now I'm getting the messages of all the participants. Yes, Jivita is saying it's option C, which means that the earthworms are ammonotelic when plenty of water is available. So see, what happens is that the earthworm shows both the nature. Okay, in the water, plenty of water is present, and that is why in the water it directly removes the nitrogen as ammonia, and when it is present on the land, since the water is scarce, that is why it tries to remove it as the urea, and hence the correct answer here would be option C. Now coming to question number 3. In ureotelic animals, urea is formed from. So urea is a metabolic product, and that is why there has to be some cycle that is related to this urea production. Then what is the name of that cycle? Is it option A, that is the arginine cycle, or option B, that is the Cori cycle, option C, ornithine cycle, or option D, EMP pathway? So in all the organism, see, from the basic to very large organism also, the basic metabolic product of the nitrogenous or the nitrogenous waste, it is the ammonia. But the way in which all the organism excrete this ammonia is different. If the animal is very small, what it can do is that it can diffuse the ammonia directly from the body, isn't it? But in larger organism, it cannot be diffused because ammonia needs lots of water. So ammonia is combined with carbon dioxide, and with this it will form a urea. It will form a urea. And what is the cycle which converts this ammonia and carbon dioxide into urea? Yes, Lake Priya, very well said. It is the ornithine cycle. It is the ornithine cycle. So the correct answer is option C. Now moving on to question number 4. Solenocytes are the main excretory structure in option A, platyhelminthes, or option B, annelid, or option C, mollusk, or option D, echinodermids. So let me tell you that solenocytes is the other name for the flame cells or the protonephridia. It is given in the NCERT. And these flame cells or the nephridia or the protonephridia, they are the primitive excretory form of the kidney. Okay, and that is why it is present in the lower organism. And what is that lower organism? It is the platyhelminthes, also the flatworms. And what is the kind of excretory product? The kind of excretory product that is present, yes, Lake Priya, very well said. The kind of excretory product that is excreted is the ammonia. And the other points also from where the questions can be asked, it is that what is the excretory organ in the annelid? So in the annelids, it is the nephridia. Yes, Akshaya, yes, Jivita, very well said. And in the mollusk, it is the kidneys. And in mollusk, the kidney, it is special and it is a sac-like of structure. It is like a sac. And in echinodermata, they are present in the water. And that is why they can directly remove this nitrogenous waste, that is ammonia, directly through the gills itself. Now moving on to the next question. So option A is the correct answer. Question number 5. Which of the following statements is correct? Option A. The descending limb of loop of Henle is impermeable to water. Option B. The ascending limb of loop of Henle is permeable to water. The descending limb of loop of Henle is permeable to electrolytes. Or the option D, that is the ascending limb of loop of Henle is impermeable to water. So what is the correct answer? For this, you need to know the anatomy of the glomerulus apparatus. Okay. See, this is the Bowman's capsule in which the tuft of capillaries, that is the glomerulus, is present. Then it is the PCT, then comes the loop of Henle, and then comes the BCT, and then it connects to the collecting duct. Then in this loop of Henle there are two portions. You can see here, this is the descending limb, this is the descending limb, and this is the ascending limb, and both of this limb have different characteristic. Yes, Lake Priya, you are studying very well, I guess. So see, in the descending limb, what the nephron does, that when the water goes down, when the urine goes down, it tries to remove the water. Okay, so the water goes down, and that is why the descending limb is permeable to water. Okay, it is permeable to water, and after that, when the water goes up, then when the urine goes up, what happens is that it is permeable to the electrolytes, permeable to the electrolyte. And in this way, this is the mechanism in which the urine is concentrated. So tell me, what is the correct answer for this? As you all said, it is the option D, that the ascending limb is permeable to only the electrolytes and it is impermeable to water. Now moving on to question number 6. In animals, which blood vessel would normally carry the largest amount of urea? Option A, renal vein. Option B, dorsal aorta. Option C, hepatic vein. Or option D, hepatic portal vein. So one common thing is that, suppose this is an organ. So the artery, so the vessel which is coming towards the organ is known as the artery, and the vessel which is going away from the organ is known as the vein. So tell me that which is the organ that produces the largest amount of urea, or which is the organ that is actually producing the urea, because the organ will produce the urea and it will dump it into the vessel which is taking the blood away from it. So the organ that is producing the urea, it is the liver, and the vessel that is going away from the liver, it would be hepatic vein. So yes, Lake Priya, the correct answer would be option C, that is the hepatic vein. Now moving on to question number 7. Removal of the proximal convoluted tubule, or the PCT, of the nephron will result in. So I told you that renal tubule has various structure, like the Bowman's capsule, then the PCT, then loop of Henle, and then the DCT. So what is the function of this PCT? So PCT does is that it actively uptake majority of the nutrients, water and electrolytes. It means that the most of the water, electrolytes and the nutrient that is present in the urine, that is taken up by this segment, and that is known as the PCT. So if this segment is affected, then the absorption will not occur. Absorption will not occur, it means that the water will not be absorbed. If the water is not absorbed, water will still remain in the urine and you will pass out most of the urine that is formed by the glomerular filtrate, and hence the quality of the urine will be diluted. It will be diluted. So the correct answer, yes Jivita, the correct answer would be option D. The urine would be diluted, and the PCT segment over here the nutrients NaCl and bicarbonate is absorbed, and in the loop of Henle it is mostly the electrolytes and the water, and it helps in the concentration of the urine, and then the acidic base balance and little amount of electrolytes are absorbed from the DCT segment. Now coming, so the option is option D. Now coming to question number 8. Which of the following causes an increase in the sodium reabsorption in the distal convoluted tubule? So is it option A, increase in the aldosterone levels? Option B, increase in the antidiuretic hormone level? Option C, decrease in the aldosterone level? Or option D, that is decrease in the antidiuretic hormone level? So the kidney is under various hormonal and the neural response. Okay, so it occurs by means of feedback mechanism. So there is RAS system, then antidiuretic hormone, and then the atrial natriuretic factor. So all these three work together and it helps to maintain the renal output or the urine formation in the body. So what happens is that now I will tell you about the renin-angiotensin system. Whenever, suppose this is the glomerulus, this is the PCT, this is the loop of Henle, this is the DCT, and this is the collecting duct. So what happens is that whenever the urine flow decreases, when the tubule is receiving very less amount of urine, what will happen is that the renin will be secreted from the juxtaglomerular cells. Then this renin will convert, it will convert angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1, and then this angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2, and this angiotensin 2, it acts on the adrenal gland and then it releases the aldosterone, and then this aldosterone, it acts on the distal part, that is the DCT, and what it does is that it increases the absorption of sodium and water, because water doesn't comes singly. Okay, it needs someone, and that is the sodium. So it takes sodium along with the water, and that is occurring in the distal segment. And this angiotensin 1, it causes vasoconstriction. So what will happen is that what will happen when you press the pipe of the pipe, the water flow increases. Similarly, when the blood vessel is constricted, the blood flow increases. And because of these two mechanisms, the blood flow finally to the renal tubule increases, and hence the correct answer is option A, that is increase in the aldosterone levels cause the sodium reabsorption. Now coming to question number 9. Which one of the following correctly explains the function of a specific part of the human nephron? Option A, podocytes. It creates the minute spaces, that is known as the split pores, for the filtration of the blood in the Bowman's capsule. Option B, Henle's loop. It is the most reabsorption of the major substances from the glomerular filtrate. It occurs in Henle's loops. Option D, C, distal convoluted tubule, reabsorption of potassium ions into the surrounding blood capillaries. Option D, afferent arteriole, carries the blood away from the glomerular towards the renal vein. So suppose this is the renal tubule, and in the renal tubule, the glomerulus is present. So the vessel that is carrying the blood towards the tubule, it is known as the afferent arteriole. Okay, A comes before, and that is why A means it is coming before afferent arteriole, and the vessel that is going away, it is known as the efferent arteriole. So this option is incorrect. Then what is the main function of the DCT? DCT, it mainly excrete. Okay, it doesn't reabsorb. It can reabsorb, but it mainly excrete the potassium ion, and hence this is also incorrect. And I told you that the major portion of the urine, it is absorbed where? It is absorbed in the PCT segment, and that is why the correct answer here would be option A, as the Akshara correctly pointed it out. The podocytes contains legs. So this is the podocyte and this is how it looks. Pod means leg, and that is why, and this podocyte, it create this pores, and this is known as the slit pores, and it is formed for the filtration of the urine, and hence the correct answer is option A. Now coming to question number 10. Which one of the following statement is correct with respect to the kidney function regulation? When someone drinks lot of water, ADH release is suppressed. Option A. Option B. Exposure to cold temperature, blood flow stimulates formation of angiotensin II. Option C. An increase in the glomerular blood flow stimulates the formation of angiotensin II. And option D. During summer, when the body loses lot of water by evaporation, the release of the antidiuretic hormone is suppressed. So what will be the answer? Earlier we discussed about the RAS mechanism, that is the renin angiotensinogen aldosterone system, isn't it? Now let me take you through the ADH system. So whenever the amount of water in the body is very less, when water level decreases, then from the posterior pituitary a hormone is secreted, and that hormone is known as the antidiuretic hormone or the vasopressin. And what it does is that this antidiuretic hormone, it causes antidiuresis. So diuresis means the formation of urine. So antidiuresis means it inhibits the urine formation. So if the water is less, what will it do? It will stop the formation of the urine, and hence it preserves the water. And where this antidiuretic hormone acts, this antidiuretic hormone will act on the distal tubule, that is the DCT, and apart from DCT, ADH acts on the DCT and the collecting tubule, and when it acts here, it increases the absorption of water. So tell me, when you drink lot of water, what will happen? Already the water is plenty in your body, so you do not need to conserve water, and hence this mechanism, ADH tries to conserve the water in your body. It will be suppressed so that the water can be passed out. So the correct answer, as the Akshaya said, it is the option A, that the ADH is suppressed. And exposure to cold temperature causes vasoconstriction. Okay, and that is why angiotensin is not released. Sorry. Okay, so let us continue from here itself. Okay, so continuing with question number 11. What will happen if the stretched receptors of the urinary bladder wall are totally removed? So for that, we need to know about the micturition and the micturition reflex. Both are two different things. So see, what exactly is the micturition? So this is the urinary bladder. This is the bladder. This is the ureter. This is the bladder, and this here is the urethra. So from the ureter, the urine comes into the bladder. When it comes into the bladder, it stretches the wall once the urine starts collecting, and when it stretches the wall, it will send a signal to the brain. And then the brain will send signal back, so that the you will get an urge to pass the urine, and that is why the bladder will be contracted and the urine will be passed out. Okay, and this process, this total process, is known as the micturition, the passing of the urine from the bladder voluntarily. Okay, the key term here I want to hammer in your mind is the voluntarily. If you are voluntarily passing the urine, it will be known as the micturition, and this whole process is known as the micturition reflex. So if you cut, see, there are certain nerves that is associated with the bladder. Okay, these are the nerves, and if you cut these nerves, the CNS will not know whether the bladder is stretched or not, or the bladder is there or not. Okay, filling. So when it is filled with urine also, then also you will not get the urge to pass the urine, and hence there will be no micturition. So the correct answer, as the Akshaya said, it should be option C. Now coming to question number 10. A person is undergoing prolonged fasting and his urine will be found to contain abnormal quantities of option A, fat, option B, amino acids, option C, glucose, and option D, ketones. So whenever a person is going into fast, so what is the first component that is utilized by the body? Yes, it is the carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is the first component that is utilized whenever you are going for fasting. But once you have exhausted this carbohydrate, then the body will use fats, and fat is used for majority of the time. And then this fat, when the fatty acids, that is the fat, when they are broken down, it will lead to the production of ketones. So during fasting, when you are not taking enough food, and during diabetes, in diabetes what happens is that the cell are not able to utilize the glucose. Okay, and hence in both this condition it is similar to fasting, and that is why the fatty acids are utilized, and hence the ketone bodies are produced. And these ketone bodies are the excretory product, and this excretory product is washed out through the urine, and that is known as ketonuria. And hence the correct answer here would be option D, that is the ketone. And if in the examination also you get the question that the person is having the diabetes insipidus, diabetes mellitus, then what will be the type of bodies that is seen? That is the ketone bodies. And the ketone bodies that are seen are acetoacetate and dihydroxybutyrate, and the other one is the acetone itself. So the correct answer is option D. Yes, Lekpriya. Now coming to question number 13. Formation of the concentrated, that is the hyperosmotic, that is it is having more osmolarity, urine in the vertebrates generally depends upon option A, length of the proximal convoluted tubule, option B, length of the Henle's loop, option C, area of the Bowman's capsule epithelium, and option D, capillary network forming the glomerulus. For this question, you need to know that where the majority of the concentration of urine occurs. So which is the segment where the concentration of urine occurs? So yes, Akshaya, very well said. So this is the counter current mechanism where the concentration occurs, and this is really the topic which many students don't understand. So let us cover it here. Okay, if you don't get it, then please ask again. So see, this is the loop of Henle. Okay, this is the loop of Henle. So when the urine is coming down, what happens is that the water goes out. The water goes out, and while it is going down, the water comes out and it is taken by the vasa recta, ascending limb. Okay, the descending limb water is taken by the ascending limb of vasa recta, and when the urine is going up, then the NaCl is thrown out, and then this NaCl which is thrown out from the ascending limb, it is taken up by the descending limb of the vasa recta, isn't it? And then this descending limb, when it is moving and when it is forming the ascending limb, then this NaCl again is thrown into the medulla, and it is because the NaCl and the urea, they are the main component that are maintaining the osmolarity of the medulla. So this is the counter current mechanism. And where is it occurring? It is occurring at the loop of Henle. So if the loop of Henle is larger, more concentration will occur, isn't it? And that is why the critical factor which will depend the concentration is the length of Henle's loop, that is option C, as Akshay correctly pointed it out. Now coming to question number 14. If the kidney failed to reabsorb water, the effect on the tissue would be, see, all of the tissue and all the cells in our body require water, isn't it? And if the water is less or deficient in our body, what will happen? That the what happens when you wash your clothes? During washing the clothes, the soap is hyperosmotic, so the cells are losing the water. So what happens to the hand? It shrivels, it shrinks, isn't it? And that is why the same thing is there in the cells also. And that is why what will be happening to the cell? Will it remain unaffected, or will it shrink, or will it absorb water from the blood plasma, or will it take more oxygen from the blood? Here Jivita, very well said. It will be shrinking and shriveling. Okay, and if it is staying the same for the lot of time, or for uh, more hours, then it will start to absorb water from the blood plasma. But the first thing that will happen is that shrinking and the shriveling of the cell. And hence the most appropriate answer would be option B. Now coming to question number 15. Under normal condition, which one is completely reabsorbed in the renal tubule? Option A, urea. Option B, uric acid. Option C, salts. Or option D, that is the glucose. So to answer this, you should tell me that of these four things, what do you think? What is the most precious thing for the body that it will try to conserve at any cost? So urea and the uric acid, these are the waste products. These are the waste products. Whereas if I talk about the salt, it is present in the food all the time, and hence we can control the excretion and intake of the salt. But the most precious thing, that is also the energy source of the body, that is the glucose. And we need to conserve this glucose. Here Jivita very well said, we need to conserve this glucose at any cost. So we do the active transport. Okay, it is actively transported because it is a VIP member, and that is why we need to spend energy for it. And it is actively transported in which segment? It is in the PCT segment, and hence the correct answer would be option D, that is the glucose. Now coming to question number 16. Brush border is characteristic of option A, neck of nephron. Option B, collecting tubule. Option C, proximal convoluted tubule. Or option D, all of the above. So what is the function of this brush bordering? You might have heard the brush bordered epithelium in other structure also, and that is the small intestine. And the main function of this brush bordered epithelium is that it increases the surface area. And in the intestine, why do we need to increase the surface area? To absorb most of the nutrients from the gut, isn't it? And in the tubules also, in the tubular system, there also we need to absorb, what we need to absorb? Here also we need to absorb the water, electrolytes and the glucose and the proteins. So tell me, in which segment? Yes, like Priya very well said, in which segment the absorption is maximum? Yes, the absorption is maximum in the proximal convoluted tubule, and hence here the type of epithelium is the brush bordered epithelium, and that is also, it is a cuboidal epithelium. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to question number 17. Duct of Bellini is concerned with. So for this, option A, filtration of urine. Option B, purification of urine. option C, conduction of urine, or option D, that is all of this. So what is this duct of Bellini? So duct of Bellini is a fancy name for collecting tubule. It is a name of collecting tubule. So from the name also you can tell me what is the main function of the collecting tubule. Yes, the main function of the collecting tubule, it should be the collection of urine. And after what it should do after collection? After collection, it should conduct the urine, obviously. And that is why the correct answer over here should be option C, that it needs to conduct the urine. The filtration of the urine, it occurs at the glomerulus, and the purification is also the same as filtration, and it is also occurring at the glomerular segment. And that is why the correct answer is option C. Yes, Akshay, very well said. It is the conduction of the urine. Now moving on to question number 18. Creatinine is formed by option A, urea, option B, uric acid, option C, breakdown of creatinine phosphate in the muscle, and option D, kidney. So, and one thing we should be clear from both our ends is that whether you know the answer or not, you should at least try. Okay, the what it will happen is that you may be wrong, isn't it? But if you are wrong, then you will remember that option for longer time, and that is why please try to answer. Okay, so what is the answer for this question number 18? So creatinine phosphate, it is present from in the muscle, and that is why in the muscle, when you exercise a lot, or whenever there is injury to the muscle, there is breakdown of this creatinine phosphate, and when this creatinine phosphate is broken down, it is excreted into the urine, and that is why the correct answer here would be option C. It is the breakdown product of creatinine phosphate. But the main motto of me for adding this question is to tell you that the breakdown of the muscle occurs at all the time in the body, and that is why, yes, Lekpriya, very well, at least you tried. Okay, so the breakdown of muscle occurs regularly in the body, and that is why the creatinine is always present in the blood. Okay, and the creatinine is not absorbed back, and that is why it is excreted in the urine, and hence the creatinine is used to calculate the GFR, because it is neither absorbed nor secreted. And the other thing is that other important application based question for this is that whenever the person is a bodybuilder and is having a high muscle mass, in them the creatinine level in the urine will be more. Okay, and the men are having slightly higher creatinine level in the urine because the muscle mass is higher. So these are the facts that can come for the examination. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to question number 19. Human urine is usually acidic because option A, hydrogen ions are actively secreted into the filtrate. Option B, the sodium transporter exchanges one hydrogen ion for each sodium ion in the peritubular capillaries. Option C, excreted plasma proteins are acidic. Option D, potassium and sodium exchange generates this acidity. So the main function of the kidney is not only to conserve the water but also to maintain the pH in our body. And then this pH, yes, Lekpriya, very well said. And then this pH is maintained by two molecules, and they are the H plus and bicarbonate, and also other thing is that the ammonium. Okay, not ammonia, it is the ammonium. So whenever the body is having less pH, it means whenever the body is in the acidic condition, the H plus is more because H plus is acid, and that is why the H plus is actively secreted out, and that is why the urine turns acidic. And whenever there is basic condition in our body, whenever there should be the basic condition, the bicarbonates are higher and the bicarbonates are secreted out so that the pH is maintained. So the correct answer for this question is option A, that is the excretion of these hydrogen ions that is occurring at the PCT, majorly at the PCT. It leads to acidity of the urine. So correct answer is option A, as you all have said. Now coming to question number 20. Which of the following is not a part of the renal pyramid? Option A, loop of Henle. Option B, peritubular capillaries. Option C, convoluted tubules. Or is it option D, that is the collecting ducts? So let me show you. So this is the structure of the kidney. Okay, this is the pelvis part. Okay, and here the pyramids are present. So this pyramid, it constitute the medulla part, and this is the cortex part. So in the cortex, what happens is that in the cortex, so if this is the pyramid and this is the cortex, then in the cortex the glomerulus is present, then the PCT is present, then it dips down, and then the DCT is formed, and then the collecting tubule again goes into the pyramid. So the convoluted tubules, that is the PCT and the DCT, they are not the component of this pyramid, and hence the correct answer is option C, as Lakepriya correctly pointed it out, that is a convoluted tubules. Now coming to question number 21. Angiotensinogen is a protein produced and secreted by, is it option A, macula densa cells? Option B, endothelial cells. The endothelial cells are the cells which are lining the blood vessels. Option C, liver cells. Or is it option D, the juxtaglomerular cells? So I discussed with you the renin, angiotensinogen, aldosterone system earlier also, but I want to wait for this question's answer from you, because I know that majority of the students mark the incorrect option for this question. So whenever the water coming to the urine coming to the renal tubule is less, this renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system is activated. Whenever the water is more, antidiuretic hormone is activated. And whenever the pressure inside the atria or the heart is more, then the ANF is released. Yes, you have all studied very well. Yes, Lakepriya, yes, Akshay, yes, Jivita. It is the liver cells. Okay, many of the students, they mark the macula densa cells. That is incorrect. So the correct answer is option C. It is produced by the liver cells or the hepatocytes. And one more thing is that they release the angiotensinogen, and this renin, it converts the angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1, and then this angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2, and this conversion it is occurring in the lungs. Okay, and that is known with the action of ACE enzyme, that is angiotensinogen converting enzyme. So this is the RAS system. Now question number 22. If an osmoconformer animal is placed in a seawater, then option A, it will develop ionocytes to actively absorb the salts from the outside. Option B, it will develop a thick body cover to prevent the entry of excess of water. Option C, it will start passing diluted urine. Or option D, it will change the osmolarity of its body fluid. So for this, you need to know that what exactly is the osmoconformer. So we all organism, like we humans, we are osmoregulator. And what do you mean by osmoregulator? Regulator, it means that if you put yourself in salt water, if you drink salt water, okay, or the hypotonic water, whatever you take inside, the body will try to maintain the osmolarity of the body fluid, because the fluid inside the body, that is blood, it is your life. and that is the utmost importance for the body. And that is why there is evolution of the osmoregulator. But there are certain organisms that cannot do so, and they cannot change, they do not maintain the osmolarity. So in whatever environment you put them, they will change as per the environment. So osmoconformer, they change the osmolarity as per the environment, and hence the correct answer is option D for this question, as later correctly pointed it out. Now coming to question number 23. Arginase enzyme will be operating at which step of the ornithine cycle? Option A, ornithine to urea. Option B, arginine to ornithine. Option C, ornithine to citrulline. Or is it option D, that is citrulline to arginosuccinate? So one key thing that occurs everywhere in the body is that the name of the enzyme, like it is the arginase. Okay, so if you don't know the correct answer, then also the first name, that is argin, okay, it means arginine, and ase means to break down, and break down by hydrolysis. Okay, all the enzymes, most of the enzymes in our body, they break down the component by hydrolysis. And because of that, if you don't know the answer, then also you can guess for this question. So what will be the correct answer? What is the component on which this arginase enzyme will be acting upon? So the component is the arginine. The arginase act on the arginine, and it converts the arginine into the ornithine, and this ornithine goes into the ornithine cycle, okay, and promotes the urea formation. So the correct answer is option B. Okay, so with knowledge, you also need to guess the question, because when you are giving the main examination, there are some questions that I also don't know. While I gave the exam, then also there were certain questions that I also didn't know. But you need to smartly eliminate out the wrong answers, wrong option, and you need to smartly choose or guess the correct ones. Okay, and this will improve your rank in the examination. Now coming to question number 24. Hypertonicity of the filtrate is minimum at? Is it option A, base of loop of Henle? Option B, innermost part of the medulla? Option C, outer part of the medulla? Or option D, cortical region? Yes, Akshaya, it was the arginine to ornithine. Now answer for the question number 24. So see, I told you about the counter current mechanism. So this is the PCT, this is the loop of Henle, and this is the DCT, and this is the collecting tubular collecting duct. So this region is inside the medulla, and in the medulla the osmolarity decreases from outside to osmolarity increases from outside to inside. So here it is 300 and here it is 1200, and because in the inside region the osmolarity is highest, and that is why the urine is more concentrated as it goes down. So by this picture, can you tell me that which is the segment where I haven't mentioned the osmolarity at all? It is because it is the minimum osmolarity. Is it the outer medulla, is it the inner medulla, or the base of loop of Henle? So see here, this is the cortical region. The cortical region contains the PCT, DCT and the glomerulus, and that is why here the osmolarity is very low. It is less than 300, and hence no, actually hypertonicity is minimum. It is minimum at the cortical region. Okay, if the question was where where it is hypertonic is maximum, then the correct answer should be base of loop of Henle. It should be base of loop of Henle, but the minimum, it is in the cortical region, because here just the urine is formed, and that is why not much is absorbed, and hence it is hypotonic. Okay, am I clear, all of you? Am I clear, Jivita, Lekpriya and Akshaya? It is option D, that is the cortical region. Now coming to question number 25. Which of the following is not a feature of cortical nephrons? So there are two types of nephrons that are present in the kidney. One is the cortical nephron and the other is the juxtamedullary nephron. So see, this is the cortical nephron. In the cortical nephron, this is the PCT. Okay, in them the loop of Henle is very small. This is the DCT and then it is the collecting duct. And in the juxtamedullary nephron, the loop of Henle is very large. It is very large and it is the collecting duct. And around this loop of Henle, a network of capillaries is present. And that network of capillaries is known as the vasa recta. Recta means straight, and that is why this is the network of capillaries that is present around this capillaries. But in this PCT, in this cortical nephrons, although I have drawn, what do you think? The vasa recta is present or not? Actually, the in them the tubule or the loop of Henle is very small, and that is why they do not need vasa recta at all, because if the vasa recta is present also, then also not much not much of the not much of the urine will be absorbed, and that is why the body doesn't sends out the capillaries, and hence the correct answer here should be option D. The vasa recta is completely absent in the cortical nephrons. And coming to the other question, other options, the most of the nephron, they are the cortical nephrons. That is, it forms the 85% of the nephron. And I told you that the glomeruli, they are present in the outer cortex, and in them the loop of Henle is for a very short distance into the medulla. Actually, a small amount of vasa recta is present, but the safest answer and the most appropriate answer would be option D, that is they are associated with the vasa recta. It is the wrong option. So the correct answer is option D. Now coming to question number 26. Consider the four statements 1 to 4, okay, regarding the kidney transplant and select the two correct ones out of this. First, even if a kidney transplant is proper, the recipient may need to take the immune suppressants for a long time. Option 2, the cell-mediated immune response is responsible for the graft rejection. Option C, B lymphocytes are responsible for rejection of the graft. Then fourth, the acceptance or rejection of a kidney transplant depends on a specific interferons. Then tell me that of these four statements, which two are correct one? Is okay. So let us see. So who require the kidney transplant? Whenever you have heard about the kidney transplant in the family or in the movies at least, okay. So whenever the kidney is failing, whenever it fails, and what is the function of the kidney? It is to produce the urine. So whenever the urine is not produced, that is the kidney is failing, it will lead to a state that is known as anuria. Okay, and the kidney, what it does is that it excretes the urea, and so the urea is not excreted and it starts to accumulate inside the body, and the collection of urea inside the blood is known as the uremia. And this uremia is very harmful because the uric acid is very toxic to the human body. So we need to do the kidney transplant or the renal transplant. So what happens is that if you put, our body is well designed and it knows that what structure is self and what structure is non-self, and hence if you put a foreign body inside the body, it will resist it. It will resist it. The immune system will try to destroy the foreign body, and that is why you need to stop this immune system. And what we give for that, we give the immunosuppressant. And the which arm of the immune system does that? There are two arms of the immune system. One is the T cell and one is the B cell. So this graft rejection, it is done by the T cell or the cell mediated immunity, not the B cell or the humoral immunity. So this second is also correct. And this graft rejection, it is not due to interferons, it is non acceptance, it is due to HLA typing. Okay, you don't need to know this. So the correct answer is option D, as the late Priya correctly said. It is option D, that is first and second. Question number 27. Why do we pass more urine in wet and cold season? Option A, impairment of water absorption by the nephrons. Option B, kidneys become more active. Option C, sweating is much reduced. And option D, ADH secretions is increased. So we all have experienced is that in the winter season you get more urge to pass the urine. And why is it so? See, the body continuously produces the waste material, okay, and that waste material has to go outside the body, and it goes outside by urine. But there are various other mechanism also which helps to pass the waste material, and that is by the sweat. So water is also a waste material, okay. Whenever you break down the glucose, it will convert into the glucose will convert into carbon dioxide and the water, okay. So water is a waste material, and this waste material has to be removed out, and one mechanism to remove this waste material is to sweat it out. But what happens in the winter season? In the winter season, the temperature is cold, and that is why the sweat is not produced at all, or it is very much reduced. So there has to be some way in which the excess water has to be removed, okay, because the water is just going on increasing, and then this water is removed outside through the urine, and that is why the urination is more, or you pass more urine, okay. Yes, Lake Priya. So the correct answer is option C. And we can rule out the other option also. If there is impairment of water absorption, okay, it doesn't occur because the cold temperature, it doesn't destroy the nephrons or doesn't impair the nephrons. Kidney doesn't become active, okay. Most of the body parts, they become active in the warm temperature or the hot temperature. So cold temperature doesn't need to do that. And one more interesting thing is that, whenever you try to preserve the brain injury, we maintain hypothermia in that patient. We put the patient in the low temperature, and then it helps to preserve the brain for more time. And the ADH secretion will decrease the urine. It will not increase the urine. So the correct answer is option C. Now coming to question number 28. So now we are going to start with the assertion and reason type of questions. Assertion. Pregnant women may show some presence of glucose in their postprandial urine, although they have no diabetes. Reason. In pregnant women, the glomerular filtration rate is slightly increased. As a result, the tubular load of glucose exceed the tubular maximum for glucose reabsorption. So what is the correct answer for this question? Is it option A, that both the assertion and reason are correct and reason is the correct explanation for the assertion? Option B, both assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Option C, assertion is correct, but the reason is incorrect. And option D, that both the assertion as well as reason are incorrect. So what exactly occurs in the pregnancy? The pregnancy is a hyperdynamic state. And what do you mean by hyperdynamic state? It means that the blood flow is very high inside the female body, and it is because blood flow is high because it needs to give the blood to the fetus or the baby that is connected to her, okay. So this increase in the blood flow, this increased blood flow, it increases the pressure at all the area, okay. And that is why there is increase in the increase in the GFR, increase in the BP. So there is increase in the GFR. Yes, Jivita. Yes, Likra. Yes, Akshay. All of you are correct. So if the GFR is more, it means that more blood is flowing through the GFR, through the kidney. And if more blood is going, it means that more nutrients are coming in the urine. Okay. And where this nutrients is absorbed, it is absorbed in the PCT. But each and every person in this world has a limited capacity. Okay. After which he or she cannot work. And that is why there is increased amount of nutrients in the urine, but the PCT cannot absorb it, and hence some of the nutrients, they have to be excreted out because the PCT cannot function to do the absorption, and hence the reason is correct. And because of this reason only, the glucose is excreted out into the urine, and there is slight glycosuria. Okay, that is known as the glycosuria. It means the glucose inside the urine. So the correct answer, as you all said, it is option A. Now coming to question number 29. Atrial natriuretic factor is released by the wall of the atria. Reason: it inhibits the release of renin from juxtaglomerular apparatus. So I told you about the various mechanism by which the urine formation is maintained, and one of the mechanism was that I told you was ANF, that is the atrial natriuretic factor. We talked about the RAS system and the ADH system. So how does this ANF function? So this is the heart. It is the heart. So if the pressure inside the heart, if the pressure inside the heart, blood pressure is very, if the blood pressure is very high, it will lead to stretching of this atrial chambers, and this atrial chambers will stretch, and this will lead to release of a factor that is known as the atrial natriuretic factor. So uresis means to excrete out in the urine, and natri means sodium. Natri means sodium. So ANF, what it does is that it increases the release of sodium in the urine, and I told you that sodium doesn't goes alone, it takes with it the water as well, and that is why ANF lead to excretion of sodium and the water, and the water forms blood, and that is why when the water is released, the blood pressure, it will lead to decrease in the blood pressure, and hence the BP will be maintained. Okay, and I told you that when this ANF, and one more function of ANF is that it will inhibit the renin secretion, and if the renin is released, because renin was also stimulating the aldosterone, and aldosterone was increasing the water uptake, and that is why because of this ANF, the renin secretion is also inhibited, so the water is ultimately excreted out. So yes, both of them are correct, but it inhibits the renin, it is not the correct explanation. Okay, it doesn't explain that why it is released from the atria. Okay, it is natural that it is coming out of the atria, but this reason is not the explanation. So the correct answer here would be yes Jivita, yes Lake Priya. So no Lake Priya, give it a look again. The correct answer would be option B. Both are correct, but the reason is not explaining, because the ANF release is a natural process. Okay, now coming to the last question. While I say this question, if you have any doubt, please write it down. I would be happy to explain that. Now coming to question number 30. Assertion: uric acid is produced by metabolism of purine and pyrimidine. Reason: uric acid is high toxicity and it is soluble in the water. And all the options, they are same as that of the previous question. So first thing first, ammonia to uric acid. So I told you that which one of them is highly toxic. It is the ammonia. Okay, it is highly toxic, it is less toxic. And which one is soluble in the water? Okay, ammonia is soluble in the water and the uric acid is not soluble in the water. So the reason is correct or incorrect? Yes, the reason is incorrect. It is false. Now coming to the assertion part. So it is an important question. It has been asked many times for the examination. It is the purine. Okay, it is the purine, that is the adenine and the guanine, that are broken down and then the uric acid is formed. But the pyrimidine, they are broken down and they form a different product. Yes, Priya, very well said. So it is only the purine part, and hence this option is, or assertion is also false. So the correct answer here, yes Akshaya, the correct answer would be option 4. So with this we have completed this module as well. So if there are no doubts, we can sign out for today. Okay. Okay then. Okay, champions. Then see you in the next class. It was a nice experience with you all.